on Wave 3 News tonight.
Tonight, a father speaks out a week after his teenage son is found killed behind a Jefferson County high school.
Police say they now know the name of the man who shot a 3-year-old boy in the head. Tonight, they need help from you.
Sex slaves and brothels. It's not a bad movie. It's actually happening right here in Kentuckiana.
I never thought a human being would go through what I went through.
And your personal info is at risk, and the culprit, you may be holding it in your hand.
Working for you. This is Wave 3 News at 11.
A week later, and still, there are no arrests in the murder of a 14-year-old Louisville boy. Good evening, I'm Dawn G.
And I'm Scott Reynolds. The body of Trey Zwicker was found behind a local high school. Tonight, his father is speaking out in the hopes of helping his son's case and cases of other crime victims.
Wave 3's Connie Leonard has the latest. Connie?
Well, guys, this weekend, a memorial service will be held to honor both Trey and Davion Powell, the 3-year-old who was shot Friday and later died. Although the two cases aren't related, Trey's dad is speaking out tonight for all the young victims.
And who would do something like this to my child?
It's been 1 week since Terry Zwicker found out his 14-year-old son Trey had been murdered. A group of students found the boy's body behind Liberty High School. Terry says the news was so hard to take, it's still hard to believe it happened.
Me and my family's carrying a burden around that is the worst thing that we'll ever go through. My son's dead, but I have no answers. I have no clues. Don't know who would have done this to him.
But 1 week later, he believes police are close to an arrest.
And I feel it now that they're going to say something. They're going to come out with something. They're going to get whoever done this. Somebody was chasing.
As he waits for his son's killer to be brought to justice, he feels for the mother of the 3-year-old boy shot and killed Friday in a random act of violence.
It's horrible. I mean, there's got to be something we can do about this.
And Zwicker wants to keep speaking out for other victims like his son and those who have come before him.
So many people in the community pulled together when I needed it.
Metro police officers made the
Judith
decision
Harper,
to
the
rush
grandmother
young
of
shooting
little
victims.
Erica Hughes, never met Trey or Terry Zwicker, but she came to the funeral home.
I did sit down on the couch with her there at the funeral home and talk with her.
Harper, whose own daughter was murdered and young granddaughter wounded, gave the grieving father some poems about dealing with such a loss. Now he wants to offer any support he can to other victims of violence in his son's memory.
I think I need to talk to many people as I can and make sure that this don't happen to another child.
That memorial service for Louisville's latest young murder victims will be held this Sunday at 3 in Jefferson Square Park. Those attending are asked to bring a toy or stuffed animal. You can find out more information on our Wave 3 Facebook page. Scott?
Thanks, Connie. New developments in that search for the man police say fired the shot that killed a Louisville 3-year-old. Metro Police say now an arrest warrant has been issued for 21-year-old Roderick Moss. Investigators believe it was Moss who shot Davion Powell Friday night at an apartment complex on South 8th Street. We talked with a woman who was there that night.
We ran in the house. My neighbor helped him, wrapped his head to try to stop the bleeding.
Powell died on Monday. His mother says his funeral will be Saturday at the New Zion Baptist Church at 1 o'clock. Court records show Moss has a criminal history including assault, drug charges, and domestic violence.
A Kentucky man learns his fate for killing his girlfriend, putting her body in a trash bag and digging a grave. 33-year-old Renee Mobley was killed back in September. Her body found in Anderson County. 33-year-old Gary Bancroft wrote a letter admitting his guilt back in February. He was sentenced to 70 years in prison with a chance at parole in 20 years. It makes Renee's little girl wonder what will happen if Bancroft ever gets out of prison.
She said, Papa, if he ever gets out, said he'll do that to me. Said if I'd been there, he would have killed me too. You know, and a 7-year-old saying something like that, you know that stays on that baby's mind all the time. It has to.
Mobley's father says there's no real way for him to find peace. A former Louisville restaurant owner pleads not guilty to resisting arrest, assault on a police officer, and criminal trespassing charges. Frank Ferris was ordered by a judge to sell both Jenny's Diner and the dilapidated historic home next door. The new owner, who plans to renovate and open the house as a location of the Comfy Cow ice cream shop, says Ferris threatened him. An off-duty officer went to the Frankfort Avenue property. That's when Ferris showed up, and police say he and the officer got into a fight. That officer was not hurt. Another hearing is set for July.
Well, tonight, folks, taking to the streets with a purpose, bicyclists working to get the word out and trying to make the streets safer. Wave 3's Katie Bauer joining us with that story. Katie?
Scott, as summer approaches, more and more cyclists will hit the streets, and with so many distractions out there, this group wants to remind drivers to share the road. It is a loud message sent without any words.
Usually you see a group of cyclists riding and chatter and everything going on. Tonight we will be riding in total silence.
They are riding with a purpose, to raise awareness and honor those that have been injured or killed on roadways. Seeing the riders off was Sarah Colliger, holding a picture of her brother Ben Hall, an avid mountain bike racer.
He was attending the Tour of the Canyonlands in Moab, Utah in April of 2004.
She says a section of the race went through a campsite.
Some folks that were leaving the campsite left and ran into the pack of racers, injuring a few of them, and my brother was the only one that died.
No charges were ever filed against the driver.
A split second, you look at your phone, you look at your radio, you look at, a split second can make a difference.
So through rides like this, cyclists hope to show drivers as well as police and city officials that they do have a right to be there, doing what they love.
Passion is definitely the word. We as cyclists understand our position, where we're supposed to be. Unfortunately, most motorists don't understand.
Metro government and other organizations are working to make streets more bike-friendly. Back in February, money raised from the Share the Road license plates was handed out to help make those streets safer. Live in the newsroom, Katie Bauer, Wave 3 News.
Thank you, Katie. An LMPD narcotics officer fired for tipping off a prosecutor to an investigation is back on the force. It happened in a closed police merit board vote this week. Not everyone is pleased.
I would say that we took a step back was simply because it's hard to get the community to trust the police now. And with this happening, it kind of set us back.
19-year veteran Detective Ronald Russ was fired last year after police say he tipped off former Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney Matt Conway. The board ruled that the firing was excessive and not appropriate for what he did, that another officer in the case was only suspended.
Forced into a life of prostitution, happening right here in Kentuckiana. In fact, there's one reason human trafficking takes place more easily here. Our investigation coming up.
And the latest on the leader of the International Monetary Fund, now accused of rape in New York. Will he be allowed to go back to France?
Well, we've got better weather coming our way with temperatures approaching that 80-degree mark. And yeah, the sun, when will it return? I'll have that answer coming up in the forecast after the break.
And a military plane crashes, goes up in flames. What the Navy is saying tonight.
And your personal information at risk, how your smartphone may be putting it all out there. We are back in 1 minute.
Working for you. This is Wave 3 News at 11. Winner of an Emmy Award for Best Newscast with Scott Reynolds, Don G., meteorologist Kevin Harnett, and Kent Taylor, sports.
Vulnerable women and children forced into lives of prostitution, sex slaves, brothels in some cases, right in our backyard.
Yeah, it's all happening here in Kentuckiana. Wave 3's John Chrysos investigating the human trafficking trade. John?
And in the time it will take to tell this story, the State Department says 3 people will be bought, sold, or forced into slavery. It's even harder to think about it happening right here at home, but it is. Last week, we brought you the disturbing details of what the feds are calling a multi-state human trafficking network involving Louisville. Obdulio Morales and Estela Vasquez are accused of running brothels in metro neighborhoods. But up until this story broke, we hadn't heard much about this hidden crime.
was horrendous. I was tortured.
This victim telling her tragic tale of trafficking.
I never thought a human being would go through what I went through and live. Having gasoline poured on me while they held the match. Being kicked and stomped on, being drugged by my hair.
Kidnapped in her early teens and forced to be a sex slave.
It is shocking to me to know how frequently we're seeing this come up in our communities, how often it really truly is happening.
Marissa Castellanos works directly with trafficking victims across the state, like the one you just heard from. During her 3 years with the Rescue and Restore Coalition, she's seen more than 50 cases in Kentucky.
We've seen that this is happening in large and small communities in Kentucky, and so Kentucky's not exempt from the problem, even though Kentucky doesn't seem like the obvious place.
A problem we first exposed last week at this home in Jeffersontown and another alleged brick brothel in a Newburgh neighborhood. The feds indicted 9 people on federal prostitution charges, saying they brought women here from Mexico, promised them a better life, but then made them work 11-hour days, having sex with multiple men, moving them from town to town, city to city in 5 states.
Some people said they did see men coming and going different times of day from these 2 residences. Well, what would be the reason of that? Certainly, it lets us know that there were prostitution-related activities going on in those houses.
Experts say most of the victims are vulnerable women and children.
The trafficker might say, if you think it's been bad so far, it can get worse. Try escaping and see what happens to you.
But not all are illegal immigrants, like in the brothels we saw busted in Louisville. In fact, more than 1/3 of the cases identified in Kentucky were U.S. citizens.
Those are cases that were somehow identified and referred to us by people in the community or by a victim who happened to escape. And so we believe there are probably many more victims living in those slave-like conditions.
Their ages and backgrounds are different, but the horror is the same.
Slavery is exactly what this is.
The University of Louisville's Department of Justice Administration recognized this as a growing secret and recently added a whole class just on human trafficking. Dr. Teresa Hayden teaches that class. During our afternoon together, talking in depth about this issue, she explained about half the Kentucky cases are sex trafficking, the other half labor, forced to work in restaurants, farms, homes, and hotels.
It's happening here in Louisville, yes. It's known as one of the hubs for trafficking because of the interstates crossing over.
Several of her law enforcement students became activists on the issue and formed their own organization.
I wonder if I get some pricing information.
Going undercover to Asian massage parlors.
It's very surreal. You know, I learned that it was happening, but when I saw that it was happening in our community in front of my own eyes, that was when it sunk in. These women can't leave.
And those students graduated this month and say they're going to continue their work and put their case together to turn over to the police. If you know someone you think is being trafficked, help them by calling the Human Trafficking Hotline. That number, 1-888-3737-888. We've also put that number on our website. Last year, the hotline got more than 100 tips from right here in Kentucky. John Cresos, Wave 3 News.
Hard to believe it's happening right under our noses. Thanks, John. A military plane crashed in California tonight, bursting into flames. The Boeing 707 was taking off from Point Mugu Naval Station. That's in Southern California. A spokesperson says 3 people on board escaped with minor injuries. The tanker is used for fleet operations support and transporting fuel.
Tomorrow's bail hearing in New York for the International Monetary Fund chief could spell the end of his leadership. 2 senior IMF leaders say if Dominique Strauss-Kahn is denied bail or a judge imposes highly restrictive conditions on his freedom, he'd be expected to resign. Strauss-Kahn is now at the Rikers Island jail on charges that he sexually assaulted a hotel maid. New York City Police Commissioner Ray Kelly stands by his detectives' work.
It's based on the experience of the special victims detectives. Now, this is all they do. They investigate these types of crimes.
Prosecutors say Strauss-Kahn forcibly grabbed the victim, a hotel employee, between her legs and forced her to perform oral sex on him. The defense claims it was consensual. Strauss-Kahn was the frontrunner for president in France's upcoming election.
A panel is recommending label changes for some over-the-counter children's medications. This coming after dozens of kids have died. Thousands more have been hospitalized over the past decade after overdosing on acetaminophen. Many of those cases were accidents when parents or other caregivers mistakenly gave the kids the wrong dose. A panel is recommending specific dosing instructions for kids under the age of 2 and mandating dosing based on both the child's weight and age.
99%, pretty much all, Android smartphones around the world can be hacked. That's according to German researchers who say they found a security hole. Basically, someone can eavesdrop on your Wi-Fi traffic if you use a public Wi-Fi hotspot.
Once I'm connected, if there was someone on the same open Wi-Fi network, there are certain bits of data going back and forth between my phone and the internet that they could possibly intercept. And those would allow them to pretend to be me and connect to certain services on the internet.
Now that means they could access things like your calendar, contacts, and photos. Android today announced a fix, but says it could take a few days to cover every phone.
Working for you, this is your Wave 3 weather forecast from Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett.
Well, hi, everybody. On the radar view, a little bit of ground clutter showing up, and we've also had some light drizzle. Tough to pick that up by the radar. It's so fine, it's just like a mist outside, but we have been seeing it. As a matter of fact, today we picked up 0.07 of an inch of rain, and so far this week, nearly 1/3 of an inch, while this month we're well above average at over 4 inches, and yeah, so much above average for the year, we're pushing 30.5 inches of rain. Wow. The 80s make a return by the weekend, along with some sunshine, which may peak out a bit tomorrow. And it looks like we'll have a partly sunny sky into the weekend with a few scattered thunderstorms around the area. Check out these temperatures, though. We've been so cool the last several days. In the 50s, we're going to bump back well above average, starting, well, it started today. May have not been able to tell a difference, but it was warmer than yesterday, and we're going to hit 72 tomorrow. Should be up close to 80 by Friday, 85 Saturday, 88 on Sunday, and we'll hold in the 80s as we go through much of next week. Those temperatures cool back down by about the 28th into the mid-70s, but that's average for this time of year, so we can take it. A little bit of light rain or drizzle around the area this evening. Otherwise, now we're under a cloudy sky. Still a little drizzle falling out at the airport. It's 57 degrees. Winds out of the south, 5 miles an hour. A day well below average once again. We didn't make it out of the 50s again. Yesterday's high 55, today's high 59. Our normal would be in the mid-70s, nowhere close to that. And you can see we're still holding the 50s right now. And that'll be the case through a good chunk of the overnight. Not expecting those temperatures to go way down. You can see the little bit of light rain showing up on the radar view, fading out under a mostly cloudy sky now. Should stay mostly cloudy on into the overnight hours and into the first part of the day Thursday. And then the clouds may thin out a bit. You'll note a little bit of clearing going on across portions of Illinois. We may see a brief break in the clouds, say sometime late morning into the early afternoon. Don't get your hopes up for a whole lot of sunshine tomorrow, but at least a little bit will be possible. Now, check out what's going out here in parts of Colorado. The thunderstorm warnings just now expired across the eastern part of the state, while winter weather advisories are ongoing in the higher elevations. Several inches of snow possible out there. At least no snow here, though we'll deal with this light rain through the overnight hours. Into the day tomorrow, where we may wind up seeing some of the clouds part and a little bit of sunshine along with those warmer temperatures going up. Tonight's low 53. During the day tomorrow, expect a high of 72. A little bit of sunshine for us, and then a partly sunny sky. High of 80 Friday. Will be in the mid to upper 80s for the weekend. Scattered storm chances return with those warmer temperatures.
My mom requested sunshine. I didn't, but I just wanted to throw
Everybody
that out
wants
there.
that, right?
Whatever mama wants, mama gets, right?
All right.
Make
You hope.
that happen.
Thanks,
You should
Kev.
ask a long time ago.
Well, NASA's taking a close look at some damage to the black thermal tiles on the belly of the Space Shuttle Endeavour. Gouges and nicks were spotted in photos taken right before Endeavour docked with the International Space Station today, but a NASA official says no cause for concern.
Fourth week final charity. Please don't forget the Center for Women and Families as we change the world in a week. And as they care for those who have been physically or sexually abused, they need new twin sheets and blankets, pillowcases, towels, washcloths, women's underwear, bras, socks, and diapers. You can go to wave3.com to see what they do and why they need your help. You can also make a $1 donation there.
Well, coming up, post positions and odds now set for Saturday's Preakness Stakes. We'll hear from the trainer of the Derby champ, and maybe Kent will finally have a pick.
No, he won't. Plus, the Golden Boy gives back to the neighborhood where he grew up. Kent Teller tells us all about that coming up next in sports.
Kentucky Derby champ Animal Kingdom is the 2-to-1 morning line favorite in Preakness 136. Animal Kingdom continues to settle in at Trainer Graham Motion's home base, the Fairhill Training Center. It's about 60 miles from Pimlico. He will van over on Saturday morning.
He's really in great form. He came out of the race super. He, honest to God, has not missed a meal since he ran that day. And I was just talking to Neil Howard. He called me before I came in here, and he said even some of the maidens don't eat up after they win. So he's doing great. He's galloped great. I couldn't be happier.
A full field of 14 was entered for Saturday's race. Here are the post positions in morning line odds. Robbie Alvarado will ride King Kanji. Shackelford is the co-4th choice at 12-to-1. Drew post 5 for Dale Romas. Derby third place finisher Mucho Macho Man drew post 9. Beaten Derby favorite Dialed In is the second choice in the morning line at 9-2. And there's Animal Kingdom. He will break from post 11. John Asher of Churchill Downs joins me tomorrow night at 11:20 for Riders Up. We'll show you an ISO shot, by the way, of Dialed In's Derby trip from gate to wire. Interesting stuff. And yes, Scott, I'll have my pick tomorrow night. Reds general manager Walt Jocketty said that flamethrower Aroldis Chapman's going to rehab with the bats after he comes off the 15-day DL. He's got an inflamed shoulder since he's hosting Pittsburgh tonight, and this is not the guy that you want to be sitting behind. The Pirates, Pedro Alvarez, gave them all the offense that they would need. A 3-run shot in the 4th off Bronson Arroyo. Charlie Morton went the distance, a 5-hit shutout. Pirates snapped the Reds' 5-game winning streak, final 5-0. The bats on national TV this afternoon, the MLB Network. Jeremy Hermita's 3-run blast in the 8th got them within 1 of Durham, but wasn't enough. Bulls win it 7-4. Well, in just 8 days, the world's top senior golfers are going to tee off at Valhalla. Preparations are in full swing at the club this week. The Senior PGA Championship gets underway next Thursday.
Yeah, but it's still really exciting when you see all this stuff start to go up, the infrastructure, the hospitality areas, and it really kind of gets your juices flowing, and something big is coming, and it really, the anticipation's there right now.
Top junior golfer Justin Thomas of St. X is going to pick up an international award next week in Dallas as part of the Byron Nelson tournament. Thomas is headed to Alabama next year. Today, he told me what his future teammates said about that Tuscaloosa tornado.
I mean, it scared me because at first I just heard of some tornadoes, and then I talked to the guys on the team, and they sent me some videos, and I saw some stuff on the news, and it was a lot worse than I thought it was. And Coach said it was the scariest thing he's ever gone through. A lot of the guys on the team were just in their basements or stuff like that at their dorms.
Scary stuff. He won the Heisman Trophy and 2 Super Bowls, but the Flagey grad has not forgotten where it all started. This morning, the Golden Boy, Paul Hornung, was on hand as the Portland Museum unveiled a new exhibit with all of his football memorabilia.
I love Portland. I love what it did for me. I love my childhood here. I love growing up here. I was very active in sports down here, and I think it enabled me to be the player that I was.
Now for Kent's highlight of the night to the United Center, the Bulls' Luol Deng beats the first quarter buzzer with the half-court shot. Actually, it was behind half-court. Bulls and Heat, that was a tight one until late when the Heat pulled away to win by 10. So that series now all even at a game apiece in the Eastern Conference Finals. But Luol can take solace in the fact that he did have Kent's highlight.
And who's going to win that series? Give us one prediction tonight.
I'll say the Heat.
You're going with the Heat?
Yeah. I'm not for them, but I think they're going to win it.
He doesn't even care about that shot. He's going, Kent's highlight?
Yeah, that's
what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm sure they're tweeting about it right now.
Got to be stoked, yeah.
We'll be right back.
All right, so who's coming up on Leno tonight? From The Hangover 2.
And Helms, yeah.
And The Office.
And
The Office is more
NBC
important.
Too,
yeah.
And singer and actress.
Is she singer?
Chelsea Kane.
Says who? You don't know. Oh, you're reading
Wikipedia.
That's where he learns everything.